Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, as we go home with each other in the afternoons. You can also find us on television, Channel 182, Charter Communications, Abundance Television, where we are syndicated worldwide. That's found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. And please don't forget to listen to us on the good old radio. That's IC Radio, In Christ Radio, where we are Fox News affiliates. Also, continue sending emails. It really makes our day. I mean, you guys are just absolutely super awesome at that. And just, we know that you're listening. And I do appreciate any kind of responses you have. So if you would like for me to cover a particular event, cover a particular topic, I'm tickled to do that. I really am. As a matter of fact, that's why we have Terri LaPoint with us on the show on a regular basis, because you guys have some concerns about children, the welfare of children, and the amount of people coming into the country that are not vetted. I mean, what are they up to? Criminals, that kind of thing. And we love all people. So I'm tired of people saying, you just don't love people. Yeah, I do. But I don't get into the illegal part of it where any thug can come across, I may have thugs in my own family I don't care about. So not just with illegal folks coming in. So Terri, thank you so much for being on the show with us. I know you've written a book, and let's go ahead and talk about that for a few minutes, and then let's dig.
Okay, sounds good. So the book is called Voices That Will Not Be Silenced. And it is a true story of government corruption, fraud, and attacks on the families that most people are unaware of. And then the murder of the senator who was about to expose it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember seeing her on one of the whodunit crime. I don't remember if it was 2020 or what it was, but anyway, I remember seeing that a few years ago. And I mean, she was a patriot.
Oh, definitely. Most assuredly she was. And there have been a couple of documentaries, with those kinds of shows, but there's a lot of information in the book that they didn't cover, and some details and a whole lot that she was involved in investigating that nobody talked about. But we have this because the grandmother of the baby that you can see on the cover of the book that was taken, the grandmother became really good friends with the senator, and dealing with her big issues, which were judicial accountability and child protective services, and then illegal immigration. And so there's a whole lot of personal information that from the grandmother, Kathy Hall's perspective, and that the media hasn't covered, and things that really we need to know about. Because they didn't really dig into what she was digging into. It's her voice that I want you to hear in the book. Her voice and the voice of the daughter who was killed by an illegal. There are several voices in there that we have recordings. We have what they've said. We have things that they've done and said that never came out in the public that we all need to hear about.
Yeah, through several decades, it's been drilled into our skulls, not pay attention, just walk away. It's none of your business. But we have to pay attention. What are your thoughts on that? We have to know what surrounds us.
We do. And mainstream media a lot of times doesn't tell us a lot of the stuff. There's a lot of fluff pieces, and a lot of times we want to hear, okay, we don't want to hear all the bad. We want to hear some fluff pieces, and those are nice sometimes. And there's a fun chapter in the book that's more fun, but there's also some very serious things that are not being talked about. And I think sometimes we're so afraid of offending people that we don't talk about things. And, some of the stuff can be hard to hear. It's very hard to hear that that there's trafficking going on and our government's playing a role in it. That's really hard to hear, but we need to know so we can help protect our families and the families of those that we love and our neighbors.
I totally agree with you. And it's not happening just in Chicago, New York anymore. It's happening in our own backyards.
Yes,
I mean, it's
quite
happening
literally
right here where I live. Next town up, Albertville, Alabama, is being just flooded with Haitians. And they're running out of inventory. They call it inventory. It's houses for them to live in. By the way, I'm seeing some of these houses. It looks like slave trade to me. Where they're just going to pile a whole bunch of families. I don't think that's being godly. I don't think that's helping people at all.
No, it's really not. And enabling poor behavior, enabling people to break laws is not being very loving either.
No, it's not good for my issue with this whole thing is, and I'm trying to find something that I found on earlier, but I'll find it a little bit later. My whole issue on this whole thing is I thought if you were the city council and you were a mayor, you were there to help the people in like your citizens, the people who are actually, Americans. So how did that change?
Well, it's from the top down. We've got a president who puts everybody before America. And we have one that I'm hoping and praying that will be elected that does put America first. But when you've got leadership from Washington, D.C., you've got it all over the country. You've got governors, and mayors. We've got all kinds of leaders that are putting everybody else before the people that they were elected and appointed to represent and to protect. And that's the job of government, according to the Constitution. Is to promote the common welfare of the people, the citizens, the people that they're responsible for. I'm sorry, but as Christians, yes, we love everybody. We want to help everybody. Absolutely, we do. But as a mayor, you're not responsible for what happens in Haiti. You're not responsible for the people out of Nicaragua or Iran or the Middle East. You're responsible for the people of your city.
And something, if you don't look ahead, you may not get reelected. There'll be two reasons you may not get reelected. One of those could be the citizens are speaking out and they're going to vote. And by the way, your local elections can carry a whole lot more weight. And we need to start it.
Yes. Pay attention at home.
So many people, they say, well, and we got this in the state of Alabama, less than 10% voted in just a few months ago, less than 10. And that's pitiful. I mean, that's just outrageous. But so many people say, well, I'm just going to wait until the presidential. You better be thinking about your own local town, and especially now. And those folks who are not looking out for you in your own backyard, they do not need to be reelected. You need to take names, and you need to keep that list close by. So next time around, I'm not voting for these folks.
Right. And that I tell people a lot of times, just get involved locally. Like I'm involved with the Republican women group in my area and very heavily involved. And when I first got involved, I didn't like what was happening in Washington. That's why I got involved. That's why I came. But then I started seeing that, being involved locally, I can learn about who's running for this judge or that city council or whatever position, local representation. And I can have a voice in the primaries. I can have a voice, and we all have that. I mean, no matter what party you're in, you can have a voice in that primary process, but you have to get involved. You have to pay attention and see, because, many times, the way Alabama elections work anyway in the primaries, they have they still have that crossover voting. So the other party sometimes can cross over and decide who your person is in the primary. So we can it just gives us the opportunity to get more involved. And we've got, say, if you're a Republican and you get a lot more Republicans involved in a local election, you can override those who are crossing over, and we can have a louder voice in choosing the candidates. So we don't have to wait till November to get involved, and we should not be doing that, honestly. We have a responsibility because this impacts the next generations.
Well, the primary was extremely important. That was Ann Eubank is a good friend of mine, and even though she's not in my area, she would have been crucial in the position she was hoping to be elected in. And no one running. I'm sure the other people were fine folks. I'm just saying, no one had the experience. No one. I didn't know what Common Core was 10 years ago. And I remember the first time I met her, it was at a meeting, and I'm thinking, well, what in the heck is that? What's Common Core? I mean, what's the big deal about Well, I got educated, and then I got on the train with her, because even though I have no grandchildren, and my son is 40-something years old, even though I have no skin in the game, so to speak, I have skin in my neighborhood. It's really important who lives around me. I want them to be well educated. I want them to have common sense. I want them to know the history of America.
Oh my goodness, that's vital. That's vital, and it's being sadly neglected, and it's being taught in ways that shouldn't be. I mean, they're not accurate. I like accuracy, good or bad. If it's bad news in our history, I still want to know that. Because that way I can learn from it.
Yeah, but even some of that is not true, because I remember I graduated from high school in 1977, and I remember getting off the school bus. I was in about the 10th grade or so, and so I came in and I always got off the bus at my grandparents' house. Both my parents had careers, and so I got off the school bus and I asked my grandmother first thing in the gate, right in the kitchen. We always went in the kitchen, started cooking, so I said, called her Mama, and I said, Mama, where is our antebellum home? And she looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, what happened to our wealth? And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, they said in school that every white person had these big antebellum homes, and they had, slaves, and they had all this stuff. And she said, sit down. She said, we worked in the cotton fields with our black sisters. And she said, we were not wealthy. We did not have an antebellum home. I don't know of anyone in our family who ever came from wealth. She said, we all came in and worked hard when we came to America. And she said, that's a lie. Who told you that? And I said, well, it's being taught in school. And she said, that's a lie. That's nowhere near the truth. And then I started getting political then, because I'm thinking, are they just trying to stir everybody up? Are they just trying to get people mad at each other?
Bingo.
That's the whole thing.
Divisive. And silence my phone so I won't have ringing sounds here. Let's see. I remember when I learned, I can see where I was. I was reading this article that shocked me, that the first person in America to own a slave that was forever, like before that, they were indentured servants. They came over to work their way. They worked, and then they got their freedom and they went on about their business. But the very first person who had a court case and won his court case to own somebody forever, i.e., a slave, was a black person. I was like, they sure didn't teach that in school. And there's the court case and the lawyers and all that involved. And then to find out that it was in some parts of Africa, and you can go there and you can see the places where Africans were selling fellow Africans into slavery. That certainly wasn't taught. And it broke my heart. And there's some prayer movements have come out of that, repenting for that, because that was awful. Slavery in any form is awful. And it doesn't matter whether it's black, white, red, or blue. It's awful. And it doesn't need to happen.
No, it doesn't.
It's happening right here in America, and our government is facilitating it.
Yes, they are. White people and black people are facilitating slavery right now as you speak.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm really concerned about, and I'm talking about Kamala Harris. I'm really concerned about her thoughts, and she's trying to slip things over the eyes of people. So I know she's been talking about, let's see, I've got some of her talking points right here. Part of her agenda is capital gains. You better believe that's going to make slaves out of everybody.
That's horrible.
You have to understand. As a matter of fact, I've got a recording, and we're going to talk about capital gains. What in the world is capital gains? People think because it comes out of a serpent's mouth that it's going to be a good thing, and they make it sound really, really good. And it's not.
No, it's
Because
not.
you're going to wind up your grandma. They keep saying Trump wants grandma out of her house. This would really put grandma out of her house because
yes, it would.
Happen. So let's just say she and grandpa bought the house back in the 1950s. And they have it paid off. It's been paid off for a number of years. They paid, say, $10,000 for it. And now it's worth $150,000 or $175,000. Grandma's going to have to pay some capital gain taxes on that, which means she may have to go get a loan, which means she's going to have a mortgage on her house, which means that she's not going to own that home.
Yeah.
That's how simple that is.
Well, and we talk about with the elderly and and you were talking about the Haitians and the housing market, but with our young people, our 20s and 30s right now, trying to find a home just for their family, or we used to get excited when we were 18, 19 years old. We moved out, got our own place, and we were all that. And while I went away to college, but then after college, you could afford to live somewhere. You get a roommate, and you can pay the rent, and it's fine. Rent was not that hard to come up with back then, but now housing is so astronomical that our young people, they're starting their families, they're just getting out of school, or maybe they went straight into the workforce, and they can't find a place to live. They have to move back home sometimes because they just can't afford it, because the cost of housing is way more. I mean, it has skyrocketed because of, and then they're providing the homes for the people that didn't even come here legally, and they're providing them funds to do that. And our own kids can't afford a place to live.
Well, if you have no credit, I was there once, where you have no credit, it's just as bad as having bad credit. It's probably worse, and it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, the high interest rates these kids are having to pay.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're never going to own a home. If they do, it will be because they collected some kind of an inheritance. However, if Kamala Harris gets in, we got the capital gains thing going on. Well, then you're going to be taxed to death. It's a little thing they taught back in my olden days. And I walked to school both ways uphill in the snow. However, I definitely remember being taught about debits and credits. And this was taught in early, like in elementary school. You can't spend more than you're taking in. You'll never make it. And when you got a government who's doing that, and they're paying the illegals and going to supply them with $150,000 or something in taxes so they can buy a home, but you're not willing to do that for American citizens who have worked their entire lives and paid all these taxes in. But the long story short is, you can't spend all of this tax money, and you can't, and survive as a nation if you're not bringing more tax money in. And if you're creating laziness, and if you're creating people not working, just live off the government, if that's what you're teaching, and when everybody gets a trophy in high school, elementary school, why try, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm here to bust that system. And I know you are too.
Mm-hmm.
And it could start with just a couple of people. But I want to get back into how kids are being mistreated. They're being mistreated, first of all, in schools, not being taught the right thing. That's mistreating kids. It really is. You're taking passion away from them. You're taking ambition away from them. You're taking all that away.
Creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be creative, and you've got to have an imagination to be able to thrive in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to. And I don't like that being taken away. But I'm talking about, you want to be on the bandwagon of people coming in. How about that being on the bandwagon for those kids who are being sold into slavery, who are being trafficked, sex trafficked? Why can't we get on that bandwagon?
Well, a lot of people have rightly identified that many of the kids coming over, the unaccompanied minors is what they call them, the kids coming over the border, the southern border, and they end up being trafficked. And yes, that is very true. And it's heartbreaking, because I think that their parents thought that they were sending them to a better life. I think that they were sold that bill of goods and they were lied to. So these kids are coming over and they're being trafficked. But what is happening is it's happening to our own children in America. American children are being taken from their families, and we call it protecting them, Child Protective Services. And in name, it sounds great. Child Protective Services. We're protecting children from horrible, abusive parents that are doing horrible things to them. That's what I thought it was until I started investigating these stories. And your listeners that have heard us before, they know I was with medicalkidnap.com for about 4 years, investigating hundreds of these stories. And I just wanted to know what was going on. I didn't go in there with a belief that this was happening. I didn't know. I just wanted to know what was going on, and I was investigating. And
I wanted to bring this in to everybody too, because journalism is actually your background, so you know how to go in and dig and find info.
Well, I always loved digging and research. I was going to be a missionary. That's my college education, and then I was on my way to becoming a midwife, and I was a researcher. The midwife education that I was involved with was, don't take it just because somebody's saying it. You research and you dig and you find the original sources, find out where this is coming from, not just because some articles say this. Where do they get that information? Right. And go find the studies, and then don't just find the end part of the study that's the summation, because sometimes the data in the study doesn't match what their conclusions are, and you need to find out what the data is. So my brain has always worked like that. I love math and English, loved. I've always been very analytical, and so that was my background. And I was a homeschool mom at the time when I got into this. And I was writing and I was researching because I want to know the truth. And I found out that, I know you've seen this. You'll go and you'll see something interesting and you'll want to follow up on it. So you Google and you search and you find 10 or 12 other articles, and they're all saying exactly the same thing. And there's no new information. It's like, okay, we got 500 words here. Can we go a little? I want to know more answers. I want in depth. I want more, and I couldn't find it. So I write the way I wanted to be written. I wanted the information. I wanted the who, what, when, where, why. And the why took me a lot longer to get to, honestly, with this stuff. I was finding what was going on. I was finding out that they were taking children from families that were innocent, families that hadn't been abusive. And literally the data that you can get is the AFCAR's report from the federal government. And the data has been very consistent for over a decade, that at least, that's how long I've been following it, that than 16% of children are taken for reasons of abuse of any kind, sexual abuse, any kind of abuse. Neglect is defined differently from one social worker to another. Some states have a little bit more of a definition and some don't, but neglect can be anything. It can be horrible, neglectful. Parents are strung out on drugs and the kids are being ignored, fending for themselves, and there's no caring for them going on. Or it can be just a messy yard. And it was leaves in the yard because it was fall.
They fall off of trees in the fall.
They do. It tends to happen. I mean, this was in Washington State, but I kind of think that kind of happens everywhere in America.
Happens right here.
Probably everywhere on the planet. Leaves fall in the fall. Yeah. So but that doesn't mean it's a messy yard. That's not neglect. That's insane to call it neglect. But what I found out was that only 17% of the allegations against parents are even substantiated. And it doesn't, the bar to substantiate is very low. You can substantiate based on things that are not even true, on made up allegations and evidence that is just, And so in some states like Alabama, it's a 51%, is a preponderance of the evidence, which means 51% chance that it may be true. So in essence, it's a coin toss. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Well, this person says it's true, but this person, Okay, well, just we're going to err on the side of caution. We're going to take this child away just in case there may be something wrong, and we're going to put him in foster care. I mean, literally, that is how the system works. And then there are billions and billions of dollars from federal money that come into the states to fund this. And it doesn't just go to help take care of these kids to provide them a better place. It goes into the hands of the bureaucrats and the departments and the courthouses and the this and the that and all these jobs. I mean, I read a report that like 48 people's jobs depend for every kid they take. There's like 48 people's jobs that are involved. So it's like a cottage industry that is funded by taking children. We talked about slavery a while ago. Some foster kids are in wonderful homes with people who really care. And I want to go on and say that right now. I know that there are wonderful, good foster homes. Yes, absolutely. There are wonderful people that get involved because they want to help. But there are monsters that get involved. There are people that have children and they're the slave labor. They work on the farms and they have them doing all the work and they're doing all the housework while they sit with their beer in front of the TV, or they're pedophiles and traffickers. And there's not really a lot of vetting of these homes to see what's going on. And then the children, if they report it to their social worker, many times they're lying or they're accused of lying. I'm sorry, they're accused of lying. I mean, I'm sure that some maybe do make up stuff because they want to get out of that house. But many times there is real abuse going on in that home. They're being molested, they're being trafficked, and they're telling people about it and they're being ignored. And we, the taxpayers, are funding all of it.
Absolutely, we are. You know something? We're going to have to go into a commercial break in just a few seconds. I had someone from an agency on my show a few years ago, and apparently I got out of her what I shouldn't have got out of her because she's not been back on again. Her story was this, and I believe it. I said, well, this abuse of children, that's just happening in big cities. That's just New York. And she said, no, it's actually here. I said, here? And she said, oh, yeah. She said, there are people who are in drugs and alcohol so bad, they're selling their kids for sex. I said, well, shouldn't those kids be taken away from that parent? I guess you're just leaving them with them.
There is something I've learned. It took me a long time to figure this out and to put the pieces together when I started doing this investigation. I was like, I would have the parents say, look, all I wanted was a second opinion, medical opinion, before they did major surgery on my child. That's all I wanted, and they took my child. Or my child has this real medical condition and that mimics abuse, and I've got these experts saying there's real medical abuse, real medical conditions, but the child abuse pediatrician is saying it's abuse, and I've lost my kids. And they're pursuing me and, relentlessly. But then there's this neighbor down the street and everybody knows they're abusing their kids. Everybody can hear the kids. Everybody knows it's going on. And we call and they don't do anything about it. And, and I was like, this is as big a puzzle to me as it is to you. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't make any sense until about the time I figured it out, we heard from a whistleblower who was a former social worker who left the system because she said what she said was that they consider children that are truly abused to be damaged goods who are unadoptable. But what the system wants is children who are adoptable because that's where the most money comes in for the system. They want the kids that people want. They want the babies. They want the children that are loved and are not traumatized. That's who they want because they're more adoptable. So they're leaving the kids that they're funded to help, the children that are the very purpose for their organization existing. They leave them in those bad situations, or they'll take them and they'll put them back, and they'll take them and they'll put them back, and they'll take them and they'll put them back. And every time they do that, there's more funds. They get more money from the more federal dollars every time they do this. So they just keep the trauma going on. And
it always will until something is done about it. And it can be, because we do have a voice. Let's go into a commercial break, and we're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay? We're telling you the truth, and I know it hurts. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At LaPoint Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at LaPoint's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with LaPoint's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today. Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. And yes, it hurts sometimes, but we've got to know this stuff. We've been protected enough. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can find us on television. This beautiful lady didn't know she's going to be on all this television stuff. So television, and you look marvelous, darling. Just wanted to tell you. You do. So you can find us on IC Radio, and you can find us on Channel 182 Charter and syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast where the truth actually matters there as well. And it's called the Studio, and we're so glad to be part of that as well. Continue sending emails. We really do love that. So I have Terri LaPoint with me right now, and Terri is the author of a book, and I have that book, and you've got to purchase it. Terri, where can people find this book? And it's awesome. A little more info about it.
Okay, obviously you can get it on Amazon, and then booksamillion.com, barnesandnoble.com. There's a website, my website, realnewsspark.com/book.com, and that way, if you order through that website, you can get a signed copy. And then I just speak all over. I've spoke to a Moms for Liberty group last week. I speak to Republican Women's Group. I've spoken to a Bible study. Any group that wants me to come and talk about it, I'll be glad to come and bring the books to sell and sign those, and just let me know. You can reach me. My name is Terri LaPoint at protonmail.com. And I'm sure you can, if they contact you, Donna, you can put them in touch with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm on Facebook. I've got an author page, Terri LaPoint author, and it's TerriLaPoint, just like it sounds, Terri LaPoint.
There you go. Terri, I wanted to ask you another question, and just kind of bring this to light, because when I was growing up again in the 1960s, there was a couple who lived in a subdivision in Oxford, Alabama, Chehaw Acres number 2. And so it was a nice neighborhood. We had great neighbors, and it was a wonderful place. You could actually go out, didn't lock the doors, of the house, and go to church and come back. Nothing was stolen. My parents actually leave the keys to the car, in the ignition. You would not dare do that now. You would be a fool to do that now. But there was a couple who we lived here, and then a Mr. and Miss Adams lived here. Then on the other side was a Mr. and Miss Parnell. And I used to think, man, I'd love to be their kid. They were the most loving couple that I have ever seen, and the very happy marriage. They would make ice cream and ask us to come over. They'd say, we made too much. They'd make too much on purpose. And they would make too much and then call and tell my parents to send us over with a bowl, and, they'd give us some ice cream. But Mr. and Miss Parnell couldn't have kids, and they wanted to adopt so bad. I mean, but the adoption agency at that time would not let them, because she had high blood pressure, and I forgot what was wrong with him. It wasn't life-threatening, and they had everything under control, but they just wouldn't let them adopt. However, you can be a convicted felon nowadays. And so what happened between the 1960s and not too far ago, where if you can breathe, and if you're an idiot and you really don't care that much for children, you can adopt children. What happened?
I'm thinking that's Tan. I'm trying to remember her first name. Was a woman that was in Tennessee, and she was providing adoptions for celebrities, and she was literally snatching up kids from their neighborhoods, kids that didn't have a whole lot, their families didn't have a lot, and she was snatching kids. And a lot of what she ended up doing, and I think her father was a judge, so she was getting court orders to take these kids and adopting them out. She was making money hand over fist, and she was involved in the one with Mommy Dearest. that child was adopted. The child that
Christine, yeah, I can't. And she wrote the book about her mother, who was
right about her mother. Well, that wasn't her biological mother. She was adopted.
Mm-hmm.
This Georgia Tan, I think, was her name. I think Georgia Tan. She was in Tennessee. Snatched her and provided her for this woman. So
Joan
Crawford. No, was it Joan Crawford?
Mommy Dearest.
Mommy Dearest. Yep. So there's been underhanded stuff going on for a long time. It's just basically the horrible practices of Georgia Tan became codified into laws all over America. I did a deep dive into child abuse pediatricians. That's going to be my next book. Is going to be Dangerous Voices about child abuse pediatricians in our hospitals. But it goes way back into the early 1900s and the building up to the battered child syndrome in the 60s. There was a book and a movie, and then laws came out of that. CAPTA, the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act of 1974, ended up all coming out of that. And it was leading to taking children that and accusing parents of abuse even really when it wasn't. And there's been all kinds of stuff that has happened through the years, but then it became so financially profitable. That's the thing. Leading all that is it's financially profitable to take children from one person and give them to or sell them in essence to another person. The Hillary Clinton's Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997, that was her baby. That was her passion. She did this bill and it was presented and both sides of the aisle voted for it because it was presented as a way to protect.
Sounded pretty.
It sounded pretty, very pretty. It was going to help these poor, abused, neglected children that were languishing in foster care to find their forever homes. And so adoption became a really big money-making thing for the states. If we can adopt out more children from foster care than we did the year before, we can get these bonuses. But they can't be adopted by family members in order to get this bonus. $5,000 per kid, and it's gone up. And if there's special needs, it's even more. So when it's so profitable to sell these children to other people, in essence, that's what they're doing, then people tend to look the other way at some of the things that they probably should have been looking at, like really examining the foster parents and seeing if they're what they're really like. And then there are people that are very deceptive. I met a girl, she was a cook in a Waffle House, and we ended up getting into an incredible conversation. Her mother died, and she was placed into foster care, and they told her immediately when she got there that you're not here for us because we care about you. You're here because for the paycheck. And when the social worker would come over to check the house periodically, they had empty boxes that they would place in the cabinets that looked like they had the food in them. And they had the same things that they would do every single time. But she said the girls were raped every day and the boys were beaten every day in this foster home. But it looked good on the outside to the social workers. They played it up and made it look good because the social workers they would call them and let them know they were coming.
See, I think it just needs to be a spot check just whenever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it is for the real parents. If they're going after that, they don't give you warning to clean up your house, and heaven forbid you leave goldfish crackers on the carpet in front of the TV from your toddler. That has been used against the parent. I'm not just making that one up. That's real. That happened.
Literally.
It's just such a profitable thing. So they're looking the other way. And we can get better laws to vet parents and foster parents and adoptive parents. We need to vet them. High blood pressure shouldn't be something that negates that. And if it's a relative.
I used to wish Mr. and Miss Parnell could adopt us. I mean, these were wonderful people, and not because they gave you ice cream or anything like that. And they didn't do that every day, like once a month or so, they would do that, but they were just good people. I mean, and they had pets, and I used to think, man, I'd like to be treated like their dog and cat. I mean, they just they loved everything. They loved their pets. They loved it. They loved us. They loved us as kids.
They sound like amazing people, and it sounds like they found ways to utilize their love and their gifting to help others and make their neighborhood a better place. It sounds like that was good. And there's ways to help people without taking their kids from them. And there's ways to, if you love a kid down the street and you think that they're awesome and their family's struggling, maybe you go help them. Maybe you help pay their power bill, so that maybe you help give the parents some, a gift at Christmas time so they can go Christmas shopping for their own kids. You know, we can help each other. We can love on kids, even, and we can make a difference without going to the system and saying, well, that parent's not doing good because they can't afford this or that, and we can afford more than they can. So, you should just, take those kids and put them with us.
You know what kids really love more than anything? Kids want to be in a good environment where the parents love them, and tell them at least once a day you love them. Just tell them, but absolutely mean it when you say it. They also want parents who are going to pay attention to them.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And I know they act like you're hassling them. But they actually want you to ask how they did in school today.
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of like cats. They want that. My daughter has cats that just, they want to be in the same room, but they're not going to act like they're, they really want to be there. They don't like you or whatever, but they really do want you. And our kids need that security, especially when they're becoming teenagers and they're stretching their wings and they're finding out what they want to do. And sometimes they are rebellious, but there's a security in knowing that there is home, that they are loved unconditionally, and they're loved enough to make mistakes. We love them enough to let them make mistakes, let them fall, and let them learn. And we are here. We're right here for you. And unconditional love is such an amazing thing. And, that's what parents can do. And we can help strengthen other parents. We can help the struggling parents. We can make a difference.
Some people just don't know because they grew up in a home of weirdos. So, and you can break that mold if you want to. I mean, if you want to bad enough, you can break it.
Yeah, I'm a living example of that. I worked really hard to overcome, and I did. So it can be done. It can be done. You just got to want something to want to do it and make a change and take a hard look. We can all look at ourselves and say, how can we do better? And we need to do that. But it's hard to be taking that hard look and seeing how we can improve ourselves when we're simply trying to survive and somebody else is coming at us to try to take our kid. Then you go into survival mode, and then you go into, people have told some of these mothers, there's some young mothers I've dealt with, and they've talked about how difficult they are, and they're rebellious, and they're da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, I don't find that at all, but she knows that I'm trying to help her. I love her, and I'm not trying to take her kids from her. I'm trying to help her to keep her kids. And, she was sassy. She was smart mouth, but she was that way with the people that were really trying to destroy her. With me, she was great.
There you go. So let me ask you another question. This is getting back to celebrities. So, and you'll know who the celebrity is. And all I've got to do is just say a couple of things. You'll know exactly who it is. But let's just pretend that this celebrity lives in your neighborhood. And this celebrity want kids to adopt, and so, it's been proven that they would have little spend the night parties with little boys coming to their house. By the way, I can't imagine someone, when my son was small, saying, I want Brad to spend the night at my house, and me saying, you're a grown man of 30-something years old. Why would my son need to spend the night at your house? That's what I would say. But anyway, but this person was a celebrity. They thought it was cool that the celebrity wanted these little boys to spend the night at his house, and he wants to adopt. He gets picking. He can adopt anybody he wants to because he's a celebrity. Michael Jackson is who I'm talking about.
I've got mixed things on him. Yes, there was a lot of inappropriate stuff. He was not treated appropriately. I have wondered many times how much this was him acting on what happened to him, and I'm not 100% convinced that he did everything that they accused him of. Yeah, but P. Diddy, on the other hand, I'm pretty convinced he's doing all the things that they're saying with him. Hollywood is a special kind of monster. There's a lot of trafficking that goes on there. And I think a lot of the people that are adults now that are involved in, and they victims a lot of times they will victimize, or they're involved in a system that is a system of blackmail. And I know that happens from some of the victims that I've investigated, and I've interviewed victims of this kind of thing, where they were involved in, as a child, being forced into situations with celebrities and politicians, and then these things are filmed and photographed, and then these things are used to blackmail these people. So that goes really deep in Hollywood, in business, and in
to me, Michael
politics.
Jackson's dad seemed like a monster. I mean, he just seems and I see where you're coming from in a lot of different ways, but now it was nothing sexually abused, but I had strange parents too. And I know it would be hard to overcome that, because in a lot of ways, Michael Jackson acted like a little boy, even though he was a grown man. There were just some ways about him, like he didn't, something in him. I mean, music was awesome. I mean, and the way, I mean, he learned so many dance moves that, I mean, it was beyond how he did these things, but he apparently used that as a way out from the way his dad was. But still, I would still have to say, Michael Jackson, I don't think that your I think you were done this way. I think there's a reason you're this way. And I hate it. I think you had a tragic childhood. And the mother was apparently mealy mouthed and couldn't say anything. But still, though, you'd have to say, no, you're not going to let my little boy's not going to spend the night at your house. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And he shouldn't, and he did wrong. He shouldn't have had these kids. I mean, if you want to have a spend the night party, we have somebody your own age. That was not, it wasn't appropriate. Absolutely. Agreed. And it was a setup for things happening. I mean, it was a right environment for things happening that shouldn't. So one of the things that I've really struggled with and seen is there are people that are the victims, and there are people that are the predators and the victimizers and the tyrants in whatever arena. And they are just as much in bondage in a way. They're held accountable. I'm not saying there's no accountability. There is absolutely accountability. There's responsibility, because when you're an adult, you have responsibility for your actions, and you are held responsible. You're held to a different standard than a child is, but they are still in bondage to that sin, to that depravity. And my God said he came to set the captives free. So the beautiful thing is that there is redemption, no matter what you've done, no matter what has happened to you, or what you've done, that there is forgiveness through Jesus, and there's freedom. Now, it's not forgiveness to keep on doing the same thing. It's like, no, you got to stop. You got to stop. You got to turn from your wicked ways. You got to turn from that. But there is redemption. But even for the victims that never did something to anybody else, for those victims, there is healing and there's restoration. The blood of Jesus is powerful enough to heal our hearts and to bring us out of whatever we've been through.
Well, it just seemed like, and I'll say this one thing too about Michael Jackson's dad. It seemed as if he had just sold his soul to the devil and just didn't care what happened to his own kids, because they're all messed up. But the older sons didn't seem to be as mixed up as the younger kids were.
Well, the younger one probably hoped that his older siblings might protect him or something. I don't know. But I think where you're we say that phrase, they sold their soul to the devil, but I think that it's becoming quite clear that that's quite literally what happens, especially in Hollywood, that there is that demonic, satanic aspect of it. And the children that is part of what children are being taken from. I ran into somebody from Arizona whose family had foster kids and adopted kids, and they were in the satanic kind of cult, demonic stuff, and they were involved in even literally child sacrifice. And that she said that's where her family got the kids from, was from the foster care system.
I don't know what to say about that. I just, it needs to be stopped. But then I think about also politicians, and I'm thinking Haiti, and I'm thinking, for the first thing I think of when I think of Haiti is the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. Millions of dollars were sent to that foundation. There was enough money sent to that foundation where all those Haitians, when the tsunami and the hurricane hit, they could have had a small little house, which would have beat the heck out of the huts they were living in before it. These people should be living better than that, but they're still trying to escape, even with all the money donated that should have went to the Haitians. They're still wanting to come here.
Yeah. Well, and then the friend of hers that was involved and caught as a missionary, and I use that in air quotes, not a missionary of Jesus for sure, but they were trying to escape with some Haitian children to adopt, and that friend is now involved with high up in the Amber Alert system. A lot of the Amber Alerts go out for children who shouldn't be. It's not being used correctly. I'll just say that. So yeah, you're right. You're right. And since you mentioned them, I'm just going to go on record here and say I'm not suicidal at all. But there's a lot. There's a lot there.
Either, because the guy who I don't hate hung himself. Epstein, because I have a friend who actually worked in a prison system, and she said when you had a high profile person and they were actually put on suicide alert, like something happened, you can't go to sleep. And if you just can't, you can't sleep. You've got partners who are in there watching. You're all watching this person 24/7 to make sure they don't go to sleep. And she also said they can't have blankets that are made out of clothing or out of material. It has to be paper-like stuff. And she said they wear paper, that like their gowns are made of paper. And she said it's almost like toilet paper. So she liked to say, apparently Epstein hung himself on toilet paper. How he done it is beyond everybody's comprehension, but somebody got paid off not to watch.
Oh yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
He knew too much.
He knew too much.
We've got less than 2 minutes left in this segment. I'm sure you'd like to say a couple of things before you leave, and also mention the book again.
Yes. Voices That Will Not Be Silenced. You can get it. Yeah, it's an easy read. People are telling me as far as it's quick to read. It's action packed. Somebody told me it's kind of like a John Grisham novel, except it's all true. And you can learn things that you need to know. There are things in this book you really need to know. If you have anybody that you love that's a child anywhere in your periphery, you need to know about this. If you care about children in our society, you need to read this book. You need to read this book and understand what's happening. And then we need to work together to do something about it. Because every last one of you have Congress people that you are involved with. Every one of you have maybe you're not involved with you, but they represent you, and you can contact them and you can ask them to support bills that will change things. Vote, guys. It's never been more important to vote this time. Do not sit home. Don't think that somebody else is going to do it and it doesn't matter what you do. Your voice matters. Vote, vote, vote.
I can't say anything else. You said it all. Vote. is so extremely important. Thank you so much for being on the show with me. I definitely
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
It's always good. Hang around. We need to get you set for next month too. So
Okay.
everybody,
All right.
Terri LaPoint, make sure you find that book. Okay, Amazon. If you can't find it, my email is right down there. So go ahead and send me a message. I'll get the message to Terri. Thank you again so much for watching. You're the apple of my eye. Thank you again so much. Continue sending emails and hope you have a super duper awesome rest of the day.